Well, I'm glad you're all with me tonight. And anyway, we're just leave for a good night. And I want to say welcome to everyone that may be tuning in. I want to start off with a breathing exercise linked in with a gratefulness exercise. Two powerful techniques to help us. And boy, we need some help in these crazy times. Anybody agree with that? And so, and this is, I don't talk about this enough, but this is part of self-care. And boy, we need self-care tonight, as particularly with things that are going on. And what we're going to be talking about tonight, my title is Making Peace and Avoiding Causing Any More Pain. Making peace is our topic, and that is really a self-care issue. So anyway, I'd like for everybody just kind of relax and breathe deeply down, all the way down into your stomach. And exhale again. And exhale. This time we're going to breathe in twice. Breathe in again, and exhale. One more time, double breath. 1, 2, and exhale. Now think of something that you're grateful for, something that you can feel, and you can feel it right in your heart. Connect with that gratitude. Something that you're grateful for. I'm grateful that this technology is working right now. Thank you for the folks that are here with me on Zoom. Thank you for this system here. Thank you for this technology to reach out and touch people, to help people. Thank you. And I'm going to pass it over to Zach, and Zach's going to welcome us. Zach is our MC tonight. Thank you, Zach.
All right, Doug, thank you. Well, welcome everybody to Saturday Night Live. We're glad you're here, and we don't take your presence lightly. We know that you could be anywhere, so we're thankful that you stopped by, and we're glad you're here. And so we're gonna go ahead and
okay, Zach, hold on.
I guess we're having some technical difficulties here.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, we'll just hit pause.
Pause. We lost. I don't know. Let me see if I can see how quickly I can get it back. Hit streaming, so we should be streaming again. So take it from there, Zach.
All right, we had some technical difficulties, but Doug says that we're back, so we're going to start over here. So welcome to Saturday Night Live. We're glad you're here, and we don't take it lightly that you decided to join us tonight, and you could be anywhere, and you chose to be with us, and we appreciate that. And without further ado, we're going to pass it over to Kate, and so she can read the 12 steps for us. Please welcome Kate.
All right. So step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Kate.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Thank you, Kate. She did a good job. All right. And we're going to pass it over to Lisa and welcome her. She's going to give the step for us tonight. Please welcome Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Hello, everybody. So tonight we're talking about step 9. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And so the section that I am talking about tonight is called Making Peace. And so I want to kind of read a little bit of an excerpt out of, I'm not going to read the whole section. I'm just going to read a little bit out of it. Out of the Bible, it has these little sections in there that break the steps up. And it says, we all suffer brokenness in our life, in our relationship with God, and in our relationships with others. Brokenness tends to weigh us down and can easily lead us back into our addiction. Recovery isn't complete until all areas of brokenness are mended. Much of recovery involves repairing the brokenness in our life. This requires that we make peace with God, with ourselves, and with others whom we have alienated. Unresolved issues in relationships can keep us from being at peace with God and ourselves. Once we go through the process of making amends, we must keep our mind and heart open to anyone we may have overlooked. God will often remind us of relationships that need attention. We should not delay going to those we have offended and seeking to repair the damage we have caused. So I really like this part and the fact that it's talking about making peace. If you get the Life Recovery Bible, and I strongly encourage you to also get the Life Recovery workbook that goes along with it. It has questions in there and has other little stories and stuff that you can read, and it helps go through that. And so in this section, one of the questions are, what are your normal reactions to brokenness? And so that made me think about what that has to do with making peace. And then I realized, so I started asking myself, what are my normal reactions to brokenness? And, I've had many very different responses throughout my life. I guess it kind of depends on what that brokenness might be. My response can be anything from avoidance and ignoring it's even there. Sometimes I just pretend it's not there. To just sometimes it's anger. Sometimes I'm mad it's there. Sometimes, sometimes I know it's there, but I like to, just deny that it's really there. It's kind of the elephant in the room. So I walk around it, which is a little different than knowing it's there, and saying it's not there is different than completely avoiding and saying it's not there at all. Just I don't see it, that I don't get it. But it made me kind of think, what does all of that have to do with making peace, and what does that have to do with making amends? And I realized that if you look at these steps, all of these steps leading up to step 9 have been about us working on making peace with ourselves. This is about us learning to forgive ourselves, learning to learn our responses and change our responses, learning to acknowledge our faults, learning to acknowledge our strengths, learning to develop new strengths in our recovery. And so, step 8, we became willing to make amends. And I think that's that part of becoming to where we came at peace with that ownership of, yes, I have harmed others. Yes, I've harmed myself. We're making peace with that. When you have unrest, you don't have peace. Peace is that calm. Peace is there's no chaos. There's nothing happening. It's just peaceful. It doesn't cause you to be miserable. And so I think in step 8, when you're looking at that list, you're okay with the fact of acknowledging, hey, I've done some stuff, but that's not who I am now, and I'm okay with moving forward. It's acknowledging your past and being willing to also acknowledge your future, and that there is one, and that you are different, acknowledging your new strengths. And so I think that step 8 and 9 are where your past and your future meet, that peaceful place where you are okay. Um, for me, I like what it says, mending the brokenness, knowing that it's there. Then you can, when Doug says this thing about you have to drag it into the light. Well, this is part of that. Step 9 is about, and I think that where a lot of folks kind of maybe mess up with this step is it's not about making peace, is they want to go drag everything out in the light and throw out all their dirty laundry and air it all out and make everybody else like them, and I will make you like me no matter what, because that's what they feel like they got to have peace. But I think making peace is about going, yeah, I may have hurt them and it's okay if they don't like me. I understand why they don't, but that doesn't mean I don't like me now. That means I give them space and time to heal. I do no harm to them. It says unless it does them harm. So we want to make for sure that we be at peace with allowing God to present to us moments where we're able to make amends. We have to be okay with, there are things out there, we don't make a bucket number. Step 9 is not about chasing everybody down on the list you made on step 8 and righting all wrongs. It's about being okay with that list in step 8. And when God presents those, we take the opportunity. And we lean on his understanding and not ours. Ours got us to making the list in step 8. So allow his understanding to guide us through where to go in step 9. And I think it's about just understanding how to let yourself heal, and being okay with that's a process. I know we all hate that word. We love it when Doug tells us and reminds us that it's a process. But I think being at peace is knowing that you are in the process. Sometimes being at peace doesn't mean that you don't have stuff going on. It just means that you're okay with having stuff go on. That you know that that's part of growth.
Good.
Just like kids learning to walk, they're going to have some scraped up knees and some bangs and bruises from where they fall, but they keep learning and they keep getting up, and they're okay with the process because that's how they learn. They got to fall down and scrape their knees, a couple times before they really learn how to walk, and be steady on their feet. And I think that's we have to be okay with the process. And so I think making peace is about step 9, really, I think, is just about us being okay with where we are in our process, and learning that, again, kind of going back into step 3, where we make a decision once again to understand that it's his will, not ours. So that's really what I have, is just remember to, make that decision again and lean into his understanding, not ours. So that's what I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. That was really good. And do we have Debbie?
Well, I don't see her.
Okay, I hear her. So we're gonna try to pass it. Huh? Okay. All right. Do you have audio, Debbie?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So we're gonna pass it to Debbie, and she's gonna do reflection for us. So please welcome Debbie.
Yeah, sorry there, but my phone power was given out. I had to plug this back in. So I totally agree with all that Lisa had said. With step 9, that we make direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And sometimes others is ourselves. And so I know there's this, I just choose to be away from this one person that I just have chosen to be away from, because when I get caught up in the drama. So I've chosen, but other people would like me to invite her out to lunch and make her my best friend. And I just really, I have thought, I've prayed about, I cannot do that. I just can't do it. And it gives me more peace to just know that I am okay with myself. I'm just, when I see her, I respect her. But, I mean, I don't drag her down in front of other people and stuff. But I choose not to be her best friend. And a lot of people just don't understand that. And I just don't see where I have to. So I really struggle with this step on certain people. Are we frozen there?
No, I can still hear you. You just paused, so I didn't know if you were still continuing or not.
Yeah, no, I'm finished.
You're finished. Okay. Well, Debbie, that was really good. And, God doesn't say that we have to be everybody's best friend, and sometimes it's not healthy for us to be everybody's best friend, and that's okay. Some people think that the Christian thing to do is to be everybody's best friend, and that's not really reality. It's you can love people with the love of Christ, and that doesn't mean that you trade places with them and you be their best friend. That's there's different depths of relationships I believe that God leads us into, and that's okay. One thing I learned a long time ago is that when I start feeling condemnation, when I start feeling condemnation, when I think that's from God, or I think that's from my fellow Christian, brothers and sisters in Christ, then something's wrong. because God doesn't condemn me. So
Right.
something's out of balance when I start thinking that he's condemning me, or I start feeling condemnation. So it's not from him. And then when I start feeling like, maybe people I go to church with, or maybe, my brothers and sisters in Christ are putting me under condemnation because I'm not doing what they think I should be doing, then, that's not God either. So
Right.
you
Right.
need to do what you have peace with doing. That's what I would encourage you to do. And if you have peace where you're at, then don't change it. That would be my encouragement to you. And you did really good. I appreciate your reflection, and Lisa did really good, and I appreciate her step. And thank you, Kate, for reading the 12 steps. And without further ado, we're going to pass it on to Doug here. So please welcome Doug.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Doug, can I say something real quick?
You may.
Hey, Debbie, I just want to say this one thing because I heard this a long time ago by a preacher one time, and trying to learn the difference between judging and discerning. And he told me that judging will always bring guilt, because when you're judging, they're either guilty or innocent. Or if you're judging, you'll feel guilt for judging. So judging brings guilt, but discernment brings peace of God, because discernment is from God. It's a gift of the Spirit. It's one of the things that God gives you is discernment. And so if you have peace from God, that you're doing the right thing by having distance, and you don't feel ill will, you're not judging, you just feel like God is saying this is not the path for you, then if there's peace in there, I don't feel like that is. And interestingly enough, in this step, the scripture talks about if you have something against thy brother, to go and deal with that before you offer your sacrifice on the altar. And it was very interesting that you brought that up. But I would say that remember that if you have peace about where God is telling you to be in this relationship, then I feel like you should just trust God and his peace. And if you don't feel guilt, then I think you should just trust God. I think you do really good at listening to God. So just listen to him, okay?
Thank you so much, Lisa. It really means a lot because most of my life, I always tried to be a people person and very codependent. And I feel now that I'm able to say, whoa, this relationship just is not good for me. I need to keep my distance, even though I have nothing against that really at all.
It sounds like you made a healthy choice.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other comments, Lisa?
No, that was it. That was all I had.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you to both you, Lisa, and Debbie. Also for Zach to bringing us along, and Kate for reading the 12 steps. And John, before I go into talking, do you have? You're the only one that hasn't said anything tonight. Would would you like to say welcome or something like that to everyone?
It's important to be your best friend before you make somebody else your best friend. To be friends, to love yourself and to care for yourself and to nurture yourself before you start caring and nurturing for someone else.
Boy, you ought to say that again.
It's better for you to be your own best friend, love and nurture yourself before you do that for someone else. Because if you do that for someone else first, you're going to start to resent them because you're taking better care of them than you are yourself. Like Zach said, take as good a care of yourself as you would someone you're taking care of.
Good.
Good stuff, John.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Okay. Well, the topic, as Lisa was sharing the step, is about making peace. I've given the title for our for the YouTube and Facebook as Making Peace and Avoiding Causing Any More Pain. And I'd just like to start there, that the idea is to, we want peace. We want that peace. We're talking about peace, and really what's brought us to recovery, whatever form of recovery we're in, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, whether it's substance or behaviors or actions, whatever we're working on recovering. Could be food. It could be cutting. You know, we've had from there for a long time. We seem to have a lot of folks coming through that was involved in cutting, and so, you know, but the core issue is having to stop the chaos inside, coming to a place of mental, emotional, spiritual peace, working on, well, like Lisa said, out of the book, it says recovery isn't complete until all of the broken areas are mended. We have to mend the broken places. Now, when I grew up, I was taught the past is the past. Pretend that it didn't happen. Let it go. You can do nothing about it. That just made people a wreck, right? Because the fact of it is, we are affected by our past. Now, we can't be controlled by our past, but until we come to peace with those issues that keep erupting in our life, I'm not talking about those things that are not erupting in our life. I'm talking about the things that are erupting in our life. Till we come to peace with them, then things are just continually erupting. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
I'll assume you say yes. So what we have to do is we want to stop the pain in our life. We want to mend this. And I want to go back to reading step 9 here. And it says, we make direct amends to such people whereas possible. Lisa kind of touched on this, and I've circled it and put it in yellow. It's wherever possible. There can be some people that it's not possible. They can be so toxic, like Debbie was talking about, that you can't touch them. Okay, it's in my best interest to create distance because of the toxicness. The relationship is toxic. Whether it's them, whether it's me, whatever, I have to make a healthy choice for me, which if it's toxic, it'll also be healthy for them, whether they realize it or not. Would you agree with that? And so what we have to do is, hello? What we have to do is we need to work on our brokenness. And step 9 is about making amends to others, but to ourselves, okay? Because we, as I have said many, many times, an emotionally healthy individual is someone that's able to give and receive love. Now, a lot of us are able to usually give, but we definitely kind of push back on receiving. And to be emotionally healthy, we have to be able to do both. So we, whenever possible, except for where it will do injury or harm to them or others, and also harm to yourself. So we're interested in healing, not hurting. Yes, sometimes taking responsibility is challenging. Sometimes it is painful, but it's usually painful in a internal sense, and sometimes in some situations, yeah, you have to endure the consequences of your behavior, when you make amends. But the idea is not to be destructive, not just to get your healing by trying to fix all these things on the outside, try to get people to love you again or be acceptable of you. You know, that's not what really what it's all about. It's about cleaning up your side of the street and reaching out. Now, if it's close, intimate family members, sometimes you do have to do it in person. You do have to do it in a genuine way. You do have to reach out. You do have to demonstrate action with your words. All those things are important in the amends process, but it is not to do damage to anyone. Hopefully that's clear. You'll never change your life until you change your choices. I know I'm gonna try to say that every week for the next while, if not the rest of the while. But you'll never change your life until you change your choices. We have to make healthy choices. So we need to mend these broken pieces. And Lisa pointed out sometimes our brokenness pushes us around. These are my words, not exactly her words, but it's the same idea. Sometimes our brokenness is pushing us around, or our false beliefs, the lies that we have internalized, and they pick us up and control us because we bought into them and given them permission to control our unconscious life. And we have to be aware of that stuff that's pushing us around. That's when we ask ourselves, hey, are those beliefs rational or are they irrational? Oftentimes it can be some of the unbrokenness that we have. One of my particular brokenness was that I became aware that I always try to not let anybody get to my back. Because basically the belief was people were going to stab me in the back. And I believed that. And I lived that way. And so somewhere down the line, I had to deal with my own fear and my own brokenness around that, why I believed that. And I had legitimate reasons to believe that because, yes, some things happen that way. But for me to be better, I had to address my own fear, and I had to be willing consciously to let people stab me in the back if they were going to stab me in the back. And how I did that, this is just how I did it. I decided that even if they were to stab me, maybe that's what they needed to help them. And I remember saying to myself, I have a very high pain tolerance, and I said, pain really is not going to bother me. I'll be okay. But if they do that, maybe that's what they need. And I remember going around that situation. And I know this may sound real abstract. Maybe some people can't relate with it, but I bet somebody can. And I remember just deciding to open up my heart and allow people to be exposed to my back. And it's a strange thing. During that time, I don't remember anybody stabbing me in the back. Now I've had a few stab me since then, and you're right. I am a survivor, and it's okay. And I can be bigger than that, and I have been. Sometimes I have to work my own process to understand that it's their issue, not my issue, and I'm okay. So I don't know. I just thought I'd go into that story a little bit. Hopefully that can be helpful to somebody. But we have to mend the brokenness, and that's what making peace is all about. Sometimes it's just about letting go of stuff. We carry around stuff because it's our stuff. It's our hurts. It's what we identify with. That's what I've lived through. It's the way my mother treated me. That's the way they did me. That's my family ignored me. They loved that person more than me. They treated them better. They treated me less. Which actually were all of some of my own issues, which happened. But the fact of it is, I have to heal. Now, I don't know that I'm all the way there, but I'm way better than I used to be, and not as good as I'm going to be. And it's a continual process. And when these situations come up, it's another. This is for you, Lisa. It's another golden opportunity to work my healing program.
Oh, those golden opportunities.
Isn't it great?
They're fantastic.
Yeah. And see, God is answering our prayer, Lisa, when those golden opportunities come up, because we pray, God, I want to be better. I want to be healed. I don't want to be manipulated by all the stuff. Okay. I want to make peace with me and let that peace go out. And so the way that comes is an opportunity, a golden opportunity shows up to help me to show how much progress I've made and how much I need to make. And that's part of our healing process, because you never know where you're at on the scale until you have a chance to go through the test. And that test is not to weaken us. That test is to help us to become stronger. So
many of those golden opportunities have names, and they ended up on my list on step 8. And God has not yet brought me to step 9 with them. Because I'm still working on those skills.
Can I say something about right here, Doug?
Oh, you bet. Let me switch over to you.
And you can correct me if you don't agree, but I think a lot of times people think that God tests them. And I don't see God as I don't look at God as a God that tests me. I see God as that He brings opportunities into my life, or allows me to go through some things so that I know where I really am.
Yes.
It's not a pass fail. It's not Him to see what I've learned, where He can get disappointed in me or upset with me. I think people look at God like, oh well, He's going to put me through this test and see how well I do, and then He's disappointed with the outcome. I remember one day when my life had started changing, and everybody around me told me that they saw a difference in me, and I remember hearing that from everybody, but I didn't really believe it. And then I had an opportunity, what some would call a test. I was literally someone walked up and punched me in the face, and I did not retaliate. And I knew that I was a different person than I used to be in that moment. And nobody in it, and I knew that I knew that I knew, because I did not react the way that I always reacted, and I knew better than all the people telling me. It it uh it 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 The whole world could have told me I was different, and I wouldn't have believed it like I did when I went through the opportunity.
Yes.
Now I don't believe God was testing me. I believe life happened to me, and I got to see how different I was. I also got to see that I wanted to hit the individual back, and I needed to do some more work so that I wasn't having to hold myself back so much. but it wasn't that he was testing me to see if I fail, like he was playing games with me. It was that he could show me how it was life happened, and I got to see how far I came and got to see where I could improve, you know. And I felt, you know, in that moment, you know, look how well you did, you know, I'm so proud of you, you know. And I think sometimes we look at God like he's just, you know, playing games with us and putting us through hell, you know. And I don't think God, you know, just tests us like that. You know, I mean, God loves us. I think that things happen to us and he will use every opportunity to show us how far we come and what we might need to improve on if we're listening. But I don't think that he's just waiting for a chance to put us through a test so that we can not measure up.
Well, anything else, Zach?
No, I just wanted to share that. I think sometimes we look at him like he's just waiting for an opportunity to smack us, you know, and putting us through these tests. You know, I don't know how many times I hear people, well, God's just testing me, you know. And I used to say that, and I had not made wise choices, and I had done things to myself, and God had nothing to do with it. I had brought the hell upon myself. God wasn't involved in it at all, you know. And then later in life, you know, when I was trying to do right, I've heard people say, well, you know, I mean, I'm trying to do right now. I'm looking at it and just, you know, it just seems like everywhere I turn, it's just hell's coming, you know. And I think that's a spiritual thing. Sometimes I think the enemy makes it hard on us so that we'll turn back, you know.
Yes.
But in no experience that I've had has God been put me through a test where I could mess up, where he could smack me, where I could fail, because he's you know, he's never ever said, look how bad you did. He's just picked me up and brushed me off and said, go again. You know, it's never been about uh, my score. It's just been about, you know, let's go again. You know? And it didn't matter if I repeated the same mistake repeatedly on purpose. It's just, here, let me pick you up and brush you off and go again. You know, so I just wanted to share that about the testing thing. So
That's great. Thanks, Zach. And I'm not going to disagree with you because I know people say that all the time. I hear it often, and you know, and there are trials and tribulations, but that's in the world, and that's because we're set in this world as it is, and He has overcome them all, and He wants to help us in overcoming them. And for us to get stronger, better, and more whole, and at a greater level of peace, we have to overcome those things. And He is there to help us. He'll never leave us or forsake us. Even when we're at the worst, when we think that it'll never end because we don't think this situation of COVID is ever going to end. And but it's nothing has ever stayed the same. Now, yes, it's been a while. Sometimes it takes a while. There's a situation, but this too will pass. I don't know what it will be when it passes, but it will be different because it will pass. And some people say, well, I can't hold on anymore. But please hold on. Hang on, do some self-care, work on some gratefulness, I'm gonna go through 11 or 12 things here in a moment if we have time, and I talk about some of them, talk about as many of them as we can. But we have to come to the place that we recognize that God is not our enemy. Okay, He's not. If He wanted to get us, basically, in using Zach's frame there, if He wanted to get us, that wouldn't be a very big job for Him. Okay, I mean, looking for to punish us for something wrong. Well, we do more wrong than we do right. Okay, right? But it's God's grace and His love and mercy and His acceptance, that He wants to help us, and He takes us the way we are in all of our mess, in our stupidity, in our acting out of our own ego and thinking that we're God, or at least acting like we're God anyway. And He still loves us and willing to work with us. And that is amazing. That is just totally, that is a miracle. But that's because of His great love. And so
It may pass, but it may pass like a kidney stone. It will pass though.
it will pass. It will pass. It will pass. And the thing of it is, we must not give up. Okay? And I know you've heard this said before. It's always darkest before the dawn. And so the worst moment is before it starts getting better. And the fact of it is, as we go through that, we work through it. And how many times have we been in those situations that those things that have worked us over, our crisis, has revealed to us things that we need to change, that we need to learn. And every crisis that I've gone through, and almost every event, is a learning opportunity, and that I need to learn. And the rest of the story is, if we don't learn, it will come back up again. Yes. Amen. That's right. And so let's heal. Let's heal. We have to fix what's going on in our life. And because we only have control in our life, and when we take responsibility for us, when we clean up our side of the street, when we take out the trash, okay, we need to take out the trash. We're carrying around trash. We're saving trash. Okay, I had a person the other day told me they wouldn't let us throw away the trash. We had to take it. We couldn't. They had somebody to pick up trash every week, but they couldn't throw the trash away. They had to put it in the garage, in the outbuilding. They were saving trash. Their words, not mine. And sometimes we save our own trash because we're so tied to it. We identify with it. That's part of our brokenness. We think that that's the way that I am. And so what we have to do is we have to be willing, back to the willing, like Lisa was talking about out of step 8, we have to be willing to deal with stuff. We have to be willing to take out the trash. We have to be willing to look at what's going on. We have to be aware of the pain that's inside. As Lisa was talking about, it's pushing me around, but I may not be aware of it. And so we have to be willing to say, wait a minute, I'm thinking I'm getting a signal here. And maybe I ought to tune into that signal and see what's going on. What is this trying to tell me? It may be trying to tell you a lot. It may not be telling you anything, or who knows, somewhere in between. But we need to address it to have that internal healing. And we are such a complex human being. We have all this stuff going on. We have the conscious, we have the unconscious. The unconscious is driving us making decisions for us, making 90 to 95% of all our decisions, and we're not even aware of it. And according to neuroscience, and so, and if they're healthy, that's great. If they're unhealthy, hello. So what we have to do is we need to come to the place that we make peace with ourselves and stop warring with ourselves, because when we stop warring with ourselves, then we have really an opportunity to have peace, because we've stopped the war. It's is it, let me ask it in a question form. Is it in your best interest to live in peace? I hear a nod. I see you, John. Okay. I'm going to ask that same question again because it's important, right? So, is it in your best interest to live in peace? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Third time, so it's really important. Is it in your best interest to choose to live in peace? And that's a healthy choice, and we need to make that choice. So, I want to go over. I want to go over some things I looked up. I have 5 minutes, looks like, and so it says that some information that I got for us here tonight. I want to at least give you the topics, and it says how to let go of things from our past so that we can have peace. We want to make peace. Make peace. Allow us to give us peace. And sometimes most of the time, it's just letting go of the garbage. Okay. Number one, create a positive mantra to counter the painful thoughts. In other words, when we say, well, nothing's ever going to work out for me, well, you're just telling your unconscious that nothing's ever going to work out for you, and you believe more in the negative than you do in the positive. Romans 8:28 says he'll cause all these things to work out for my good. And there's been times I have struggled with that. And I remember saying, you said that you would cause these things to work out for my good. I don't see it, but I'm going to believe that you will somehow turn this around. And he has, and he's done it in all of our lives, whether we realize it or not. And oftentimes it happens and we miss it. If I expound on everyone, we're never going to get through here. So create physical distance. We already talked about a little bit about that with what Debbie was talking about, that we need to create physical distance. Oftentimes, if it's a unhealthy individual, we may need to create some distance there because it negatively affects us. Now, does that mean you will always have to have that distance? Maybe not. Maybe you won't always have to do that. But I remember a young lady one time telling me that she was abused by an individual. It was in the family, and she was expected to be at family gatherings, but she had a real reaction when that person would come around. And so, but she had all these dual information, these dual beliefs in her mind saying, I have to do this. But what she was feeling was, protect. And we need to be synchronized with what's going on. And I tried to help her process that and help her understand that you don't have to make yourself vulnerable in that situation. If If you feel like you must be there, you can create distance. And if it gets overwhelming, you can leave, right? Or you cannot go there. And it's a process, like Lisa said. And so anyway, let's go on to number 3. John, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Just reminding you of the time.
I see the time. Yeah, it's right. It's right there. It's 7:59 according to my time. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. Do your own work. Okay. See if I can speed up here. Do your own work. You can't just be passive about it. You have to deal with it. You have to be willing to process it and take healthy steps to let stuff go so you can heal. Okay. Practice being mindful, being aware, being in the moment. We have to be in the moment, because if we're not in the moment, then we're either in the future or we're in the past, and you really can't do anything about the future or the past, right? The past is way out of your control. You know that, but even though we still try to change the past. But if we're in the moment, we really affect both the past and the future, because we're remaking the past by creating a healthier future, and we're really giving a better launch pad for that's in the future. So be in the present. It helps you to be healthy. Okay. Be mindful. Okay. Number 5 is be generous to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself. We've already talked about this a little bit already, but we need to treat ourselves like we would treat a good friend, someone that we cared about. We need to do that for ourselves. We need to love ourselves. The scripture says, love thy neighbor as thyself. We need to love ourselves. 6, allow the negative emotions to flow. We need to allow the negative emotions to flow. We need to, if we just keep tapping them down, if we keep bottling them up, if we keep, suppressing, repressing, that's what depression is about. Okay. We keep suppressing, depressing, and causing ourselves to be emotionally depressed. And then the next thing you know, things erupt, okay, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, because it's going to affect us. But there's a place that we need, as Lisa was saying, was pushing us around, but we need to become aware of it, okay? And you can't be aware of it if you don't let it flow, at least to a healthy degree of letting it flow. I've worked with people for 25, 30 plus years, and most of us have been taught to suppress, bottle up, shield up, containerize, and not to let it flow out. But you can't heal what you won't allow yourself to be aware of. How's that? So that was number 6. Allow those negative emotions to flow. Hey, now I don't want them to don't allow them to push you over the cliff. And working with people with EMDR, we use grounding methods to help you, to keep you, when you start to get overwhelmed, that you find a way to bring yourself back into a safe, healthy place, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that you don't get so triggered that you go into a extreme toxic place. Just thought I would throw that in there for the fun of it. 7. Yes. All right. Accept that the other person may not apologize. Okay. We have to let go of the belief that if I ask for forgiveness, or if I forgive them, that they're going to be okay. And the fact of it is, we talked about this last week about the scapegoat. You may be the scapegoat for somebody, and they can't afford to let it go because you're the reason. Because of blaming you, that stabilized them emotionally, and so they can't. if they don't have that, then that messes up their world. Now, I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm just saying that's the way they're functioning. But they may not, just because you've reached out and you try to let go. The fact of it is, they may not apologize. They may not forgive you. They may not, we have to take care of our side of the street, because we're trying to make peace in ourselves, which affects everybody. Any comments from anybody? We're halfway there. I'm four minutes over, and I think I'm just touching these lightly. Okay. Number 8. Yes, number 8, engage in self-care. We've talked about this a little bit already. We have to make a plan of self-care. If we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else will. So we have to make healthy choices. We need to know where our toxic places are, and we need to avoid the toxin. Okay, we need to minimize the poison that we're drinking. Okay, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, social, physical, financial, we need to engage in self-care. We need to find things that feed us, that helps us, that strengthens us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. We need to do things to help us in the self-care area. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to treat ourselves as like a valuable human being. And even Superman, as I think back about Superman, he avoided kryptonite. Okay, so he knew where not to go. And anytime he got a sense that he was around kryptonite, he worked his way out of it. I don't know, that was a random thought that came in there. So, let's see. Number 9, surround yourself with people who fill you up. I'm gonna read that again. Surround yourself with people who fill you up. Man, sometimes when we have lived a toxic life and we're connected to people that are similar to us, which means they're toxic. It's like living in the land of leeches. Okay, just sucking life out of everybody else, and somewhere along the line we're going to have to make a shift, and we have to surround our life with healthy people, because one theory is we're like the 11 people that we're around, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. Those people that we surround ourselves, we become like they are. So you get to choose. You get to choose. I know it's easier to pick unhealthy people. It feels more comfortable to pick healthy people because they have less expectations of you. You feel less intimidated by them. Okay, but the fact of it is, if you're around people that's on your level or below, then that's where you go. Now, that may be a little crude. So, but what I'm saying is you need to surround yourself with people that will fill you up.
This is really good stuff you're sharing.
What'd you say?
This is really good stuff you're sharing. You need to mute everybody and forget about the clock.
Okay. I haven't heard anything. So anyway, we're just about done. I know I've gone over a little bit, and I have I could have probably condensed a little bit, but I'm leaving out a whole bunch. And so give yourself permission. Here you go. Give yourself permission to talk about it. Man, oh man, that's a big one. Okay, give yourself permission to talk about it. You have to let go of that false belief that you can't share. Now, you have to share with healthy people. Okay, you have to share in a healthy situation. And I'm not telling you to overshare. Okay, but you have to start someplace You have to begin that journey of 1,000 steps with one step. To heal, you have to give yourself permission to talk. I've had, I don't know, for some reason in the last month or so, people that have talked with me, this same statement's been coming out. It's just been good to have somebody to talk to. I had one fella that said this, I think it's this week or maybe last week. He said, you know, I thought things were pretty well ordered out. I didn't realize how much better that would make me feel about the situation if I just talked to you about it. He said, you didn't say a whole lot about it, but you just listened, and we kind of looked at a couple of different things. He said, and this was the week prior to when I listened to him. He said, but after that, I realized how much better I felt internally by just being able to talk about it. Wouldn't it have been sad if he'd have been carrying that poison around, and that poison just makes you sicker and sicker and sicker? Do you know what I mean? And so it kind of made me happy, and it kind of made me sad at the same time. But I've heard that from, it's been sticking in I've been catching it, okay? People saying that. And I know they've said it in the past, but for some reason and I think maybe it's because of COVID stuff and people feeling all shut off and closed up and pent up, and you need to give, the point here is you need to give yourself permission to talk about it. You can't talk to everybody about it. There needs to be a healthy person that you can find, a friend that accepts you, that loves you, that's open to you, that will even listen to you if you're wrong, okay? And because, see, the truth of it is, when you talk about it, you hear yourself saying stuff, and if it's wrong, you'll hear it, and you begin to start making some adjustments. It works that way, okay? That's a real powerful one. I don't know, I feel real strong about that. Give yourself permission to talk about it. Number 11, give yourself permission to forgive, okay? Some of us believe, I can't forgive until they do this or do that. I can't believe until things change. I can't forgive. But see, the forgiveness is for you. It's for your healing. It's to make your peace. We have to forgive so we can have peace in ourselves. Forgiving them doesn't say it was right what they did. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it go away. I'm not saying put yourself in a vulnerable situation for where they can do that again. I'm not saying that. No. But you can come to peace, and you can just let it go. And if we really can let it go, then it doesn't have to pollute me anymore. And then I can go into those situations. And when we're carrying around anger or unforgiveness, it sets us in a certain mental emotional position to where we're ready to react, we're ready to defend, we're ready to do something, okay? All the F's, okay? Fight, flight, faint. There's one more, I can't think of what it is, and there's a couple others too nowadays.
Freeze.
Freeze, there you go. And but when we come to peace, and this is a really important thing, when we're able to really come to peace, then you're not so preset to a predetermined reaction. You can make a choice. Instead of a reaction, you can be proactive, and you set yourself up to be proactive. What is appropriate, okay? Whatever is healthy. then you're able to do that. But being already preset with unforgiveness or anger or hurt or brokenness, then it's already predetermined how you're going, mostly how you're going to react. So it's far better to be able to respond, to choose your response instead of your brokenness or your hurt or your pain causing you to react. And when it comes right down to it, even though that is a survival mechanism that is there to help you to survive, which I want you to survive, but it's not, you're not really, if you stop and think about it, you're really not happy, fully happy with you in that situation. Check me out, see if I'm right, see if I'm wrong, okay? And so the last one, number 12, is seek professional help. If you can't find a friend, if you don't have someone that listen to you, and the rest of the story is some professional help may not be all that safe either. Okay, right? I mean, just being real. Okay,
That's good.
there's
That's
bad
good.
apples in every cluster. Okay,
Call it
and so do what?
Call it
That's
toast,
very
right?
good.
Okay, you know, you know, a pastor, counselor, but just because they hold a position doesn't mean that they're always healthy in the particular area that you're in. I know some folks that are really healthy in some areas, but if somebody was to talk to them about homosexual or things like that, they're already pre-programmed to in their own belief structure, so they react. I know that may be a harsh one to pick out, but it's still the truth. Because hey, let me just say this: everyone's valuable. God loves everyone, and if God loves them, I want to make it personal here. I should, and I believe I must love them too. Whatever the case is, even if they're doing stuff, and I'm not just talking about homosexuals, I'm talking about substance abusers, alcoholics, I'm talking about anger addicted people, folks that gamble, folks that everything. You can just name everything. You know, I may not, as we say here Saturday Night Live, you know, you're welcome here. We accept you. We may not like all your stuff, but there's stuff about me I don't like, okay? But I can love you, and hopefully you can love me, and we can get better together because we're all fellow strugglers. And and there's not a human being that's not got stuff. Okay, we all got issues. We may be better than we used to be, but there's not a perfect human being. And some of my flaws, I'm sure you've seen them. You'll see them, and I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a flawed human being like everybody else. And but I want, you know, I'm believing that the love of God and the grace of God can help me in those areas, and hopefully cover some of those things, and hopefully help me to make amends in those areas when those things happen. So I think we're going to stop right there. I am a little over, and that's another one of my flaws, right? Anyway, I enjoy being able to be here with the group. I enjoy being able to share, because my whole life is about trying to help people do better, be better, heal, grow. I want to equip people. I want to help them love themselves better. I want them to come in to being the best best version of themselves that God has put into their destiny, and I want to help you acquire that or come into that, be that. And no matter where you're at, man, we've had some people that have had, well, I'm thinking about a guy right now that when we first connected, he was sleeping in his truck on Walmart parking lot. Okay. And he just had some issues in his life that had just worked him over. And he was hiding from his pain. And he had substantial amount of pain in his life early in childhood, loss of people, relationships that didn't work out, just stuff in the beginning, and then more stuff came later on, the way life is. And now he is he's better than he used to be. He's a successful businessman in our area here, and is very successful. And there's many others like that have turned their life around, because there's things in all of us that God wants to bring us to. Okay, and we all have different gifts and talents, and some of it's finances, sometimes it's education, sometimes it's helping other people, sometimes it's in the medical field. I think of another lady that we helped, and they told her that she would never be able to work in the medical field because of her situation. And I remember asking me, and I'm probably going into too much detail here, but I remember her asking me, well, what do I do? They say that this will never happen. I said, well, you do your part, and let's believe God to do his part and turn these things around. I don't know if it can happen. I've heard of it happening. And she did her part. She got the education. She graduated college. And the next thing you know, that situation was dealt with in her life. And she was able to do that. That was her dream. No, but it's because she had recovery, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And she had stuff in her life. I'm sitting here in the Saturday Night Live room, and I remember her saying that, talking about her testimony is, and this is going to give some of it away, but sitting there in her, and this, of course, several people have said this, but sitting in her car, just screaming out loud because of her pain. And, and if you're screaming out loud, God hears you, and he wants to help you with your pain. And we want that. And I want us to pray right now. Father, I just join with everyone that's watching. I just praying for healing. Healing, mental, emotional, spiritual healing. Those lies of addiction, those lies, those beliefs that we can't change, those lies that it's always got to be that way, I'm believing for healing. I pray for those pits that people feel that they're in, that those pits begin to fill in and allow them to start to come into the light and allow that healing to happen. I'm just believing for your grace and your mercy. For those that, there are some of you that have asked Jesus Christ to be in their life, and you don't think that he's still there. He's still there. Even if you ask that question, that means that's an act of faith. Just to ask that question is an act of faith. And he said, if you believe that he is, then he is there for you. Yeah, you may not be meeting all the external criteria that people say you're supposed to do, that may be in your best interest to do, but yet those behaviors are not contingent on your relationship with him, because it's grace through faith that saves us. And that grace, we connect that by that belief. And you don't have to have my belief or anybody else's belief, but you can, if you're watching this, I would dare say you have that measure of faith, that belief. Just ask him to forgive you and to come into your heart. And if you do that right there, if you just do that right there, that's faith. And then allow yourself to be led. Don't start beating up on yourself that you're not meeting your self-imposed or external criteria. Just give yourself the grace and let the healing begin, little by little. Hey, it may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. You know, the rest of the story is it's going to take all those years, little by little, piece by piece. Don't give up. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. And please make healthy choices. And I'm going to turn it back over to Zach and let Zach, if anybody wants to say, Zach, you can do that, or whatever you want to do, you can close it out. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
All right, does anybody want to share anything before we go tonight real quick? I'm not hearing anybody. I'll give you a second. Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here again, and tonight was a good night, and you know, like Doug was saying, find somebody to talk to, you know, and you know, if you got a friend to do that, that's great. You know, make sure it's a friend that's going to be honest with you, and that friend doesn't co-sign your bullshit, because you want a real friend that's going to be honest with you and truthful, not hurt you, but truthful. And if that's not in your life right now, then you know, find somebody else to talk to, find a professional, you know, and if you try that and it's not working, you know, don't quit. Just change the players on the team. You know, fire them and get somebody else. You need to be worth it to yourself to get better, and because you are important, and you do matter, and that's not us just saying that. We really do believe that, and we love you, and we hope to see you next time. And everybody be safe and take care of yourselves. Until next.